everyone. I'm your host, Heather Ashley, and welcome to another episode of Women of Her Story, a podcast dedicated to celebrating women who have made or are making their mark on our society. Today, I have with me the absolutely hilarious Ashley Leisten. How are you doing today, Ashley?
I'm so good, and I'm excited to be chatting with you, Heather. It's been forever.
I know. Thank you so much for joining us. So, as we record this, we are in the thick of COVID-19 quarantine.
Yes,
How
we
are you
are.
holding up?
Well, I'm doing well. I feel fortunate because I'm currently working virtually for most of the daytime. So
Mhm.
that's great to keep me busy. However, I'm yearning for some sort of, human interaction outside of just my cats and my partner. They're great, but I would really just like love, like a hey or whatever. It feels crazy walking down the street and like purposely avoiding people, things like that. So I'm ready for that to be done, but I'm willing to do what it takes to like, you know, stop the curve, flatten the
Yeah,
curve, stomp the
flatten the
curb,
curve.
whatever we're saying.
What have
Fix
you
it.
been what have you been doing to keep yourself busy?
I'm a project person. I'm always trying to get as many projects juggling in my hands as I can. So right now I'm working on putting together like a little EP back and forth with my friend. We're back and forth on GarageBand, sending our tracks to each other and adding each time. So that's been kind of fun. I'm like painting these little wooden houses. They're not even bird houses. They're just like small houses I saw at Michael's and was like, these are so cute. So I've been like doing weird things that like people who live in basements do. So yeah, just like random stuff. I've been also trying to stretch a lot. Like I've been really trying to get back my flexibility from my younger years so that I don't age into like a decrepit person. So yeah,
Yeah.
I've been doing a couple different things.
So, into your comedy, have you ever felt like people don't take you seriously as a woman in comedy? I know that seems like an oxymoron, like serious in comedy, but
Yeah, no, I know what you mean though. I think that being taken seriously in comedy as a woman is no harder than being taken seriously in anything else as a woman,
yeah.
truthfully. And I don't mean that in like a deflating way. I just mean like in any opportunity or situation that you walk into, like being a woman, I feel like there's always this like obvious this could work against me sort of thing going on.
Mhm.
But yeah, I've definitely found myself in situations where the object of what we were doing was so that everyone could participate. And for some reason, like because the room was mostly male, like being able to nudge in there without having to actually physically nudge in there was really difficult. And I did, go, I took an improv class at one point where I was one of two females, and the other female really just had poor attendance. And so I was often there. And being the only female in the class, which is totally fine by me. I'm like I can stand my own, like I don't really mind
Mhm.
that. However, when you're the mom for the 15th time,
Ugh.
because you're the only female or you're the
Ugh.
girlfriend or you're honey, I'm back from the gym or whatever, you start being like, wow, is that what all you see? Like, is that what you see me as? Is that my function in this class? Because
Yeah.
you can be a coach, a teacher, a lawyer, or whatever. And for some reason, I have to keep being a cheerleader. And I don't even give off the vibe of cheerleader in any sense. So there are moments where I find myself being like, wow, like, how have they turned my womanhood into a disadvantage? But I really do think it's like all about playing with it and like reestablishing like whatever character you want to be. I think that's what's cool about
Mhm.
being a female in comedy. Like it's comedy, so you can protect yourself always.
Yeah.
Like with your strong point of view and with basically just having the attitude that everyone can kind of fuck off.
Yeah,
And quite frankly,
definitely.
yeah. So that's
Yeah.
cute.
When did you decide you wanted to be a comedian?
um, I I kind of always loved performing and I did a lot of dancing and that's how you and I met, which was so cool. And I did a lot of singing. And then when I got to college, I sort of like felt myself wanting to perform but not having any outlet for that kind of satisfied the urge I had to do so. So I did like
Mhm.
a little bit of radio, I did a little bit of singing, stuff like that. And like anytime I could host something, like just random things I could do to be on stage or holding a microphone, I was kind of doing. But I had a friend approach me when I was in college, my junior year, and she was like, "Hey, the Second City Touring Company is coming to Norman, Oklahoma, which is where I went to school." And she's like, "I think you'd really like them and you should go see them. It's like Second City's, or it's like a Saturday Night Live kind of comedy." And I was like, "I've never heard of them, but I'll check it out." So I went online and I truly had never heard of the Second City. And I went to buy tickets for this touring show and they were all sold out, but there was a tab that said for college students. And so I clicked it and was like, okay, I want to do this. However, I doubt they'll accept me. And literally by a miracle, they just picked me to go. So I would say like before my senior year of college, like I was certain I wanted to do comedy. I did that program and I was like, oh, I'm not going to finish school. Like I'm going to stay in Chicago. My parents were like, hilarious. You're going to finish school. So that's good. You're already a comedian. That's so funny. But so yeah, I would say like when I became a senior in college, I was like confident. I at least wanted to go try to be a comedian. I wanted to like go learn more, go to school, go take more programs, stuff like that. So I didn't know, and then all of a sudden was very like confident that I wanted to
right on into
I like literally had no clue, and then was like, boom, right when I needed to figure it out, I figured it out. So
that's
said
the
for
dream.
timing there. Yeah, right. Right.
Were you nervous doing your first stand-up show?
Yeah, the first time I did stand-up, I was so nervous. I remember I like went to Target to like buy a good top to wear because I didn't want to wear something I didn't like, and I wanted to feel totally comfortable and I wanted to look cute, but I didn't want to look like I was like overly trying, and I didn't want to look new. But I also knew that the second I got up at the mic, I'd be like, I'm new. Like, this is my first time. So yeah, I remember being really nervous, not because I didn't think I could do it, just because I was going with a huge group of people I knew. And so I think the pressure of being with people I would continue to have to be around afterwards, even if I tanked, was like a lot for me to try to process. But it ended up going totally fine. And I like immediately was like, oh my God, I could do that every night. Like that was so fun. So I ended up being fine. And after that, I really haven't had any sort of like stage fright surrounding performing by myself. But that first time was very like gulp.
Can you compare that feeling after finally completing that first show to anything else you've ever felt?
Yeah, I would say I think that's something like I love so much as a performer, like the ability to recreate that feeling over and over and over again for yourself, with like each challenge or like each different role or opportunity. Like every time I do a comedy project or a show or film a digital short or write a comedy song, it always has this like a satisfying factor to the ending, like to making that final product, like having that thing in your hand at the end of it, or having that clip to show, or having the audience energy as you're like leaving the stage or whatever. Like they all have their different elements of satisfaction, I think. And so even like when I was dancing, I would find that same nugget of satisfaction sort of. So I think like all performance for me kind of has the ability to give me that feeling. And I think that's why I keep doing it, because I want that all the time. It's
that high. It's like that runner's high.
Yeah, for sure. Or like drugs or like dangerous things. Yeah, so.
Dangerous. What's your writing process like?
My house is like littered with Post-it notes, like all over the wall, just strewn in no particular order. I'm very, very, very scatterbrained. Like everything is like a million miles a minute with me, and I have no desire to organize anything. So I realized really early on, like if I don't put it out somewhere, I will forget it, lose it, put it in a note in my phone, never to be read again. I have probably like 35 notes like that have been touched in the last 30 days that I don't know like what's on them. But if I don't write it down, I like can't stop thinking about it. So I started putting sticky notes all over the place. And as I see them and get the idea in my head to click, I will take it down and write it right then. So I'm kind of like, doing a process of elimination of my ideas at all times. When I get it, then I can pull it down and execute it and then move on. So, and if I look at it a million times and I just don't like it, then I rip it off the wall and throw it away and never think about it again. So that's kind of my early stage writing process. And I like to get it all out in one go. A lot of people are like, divide it up, chunk it out, sit down, work on it, sleep on it. I'm really like, the funny only exists for so long. Like, I really want to capitalize on what I think is funny, like right then. And so as soon as I look at that idea and I'm like, oh my God, that's a joke, then I just want to get it done. And then from there, I'll like continue to refine it before I have to perform it, whether it be like that night or like the shower I have before that show. I will work on it and make some tweaks and stuff, obviously, to make it sound like the best it can. But it's really more for me about getting it out as fast as I can to be like as true to that original idea.
Mm-hmm. You have a show called Boy Band the Musical.
Yeah.
How did that come to be?
I love musicals. I've always written music, and I've always liked to choreograph things. So for a long time, a goal of mine in Chicago was like, after I do some solo shows, after I do, all the improv classes I want to do and whatever, I want to put up a musical. And I had seen, now it's fleeing my mind. Hold on one second. It's like Turn It Up to 11. The documentary, it's about a band and blah, blah, blah. Whatever. Anyway, I saw this documentary and people are going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe she cannot name this. But I was watching this documentary about a band and I was like, man, bands are so funny and boy bands are so funny. And I started like just reminiscing about that time where you could get like Smacker's chapsticks with all the different NSYNC members on it, all that stuff. And I was like, oh man, it'd be so funny, like some sort of like weird like drag. And I love dressing up as a boy and doing comedy. So I was like, if I could get an all-female cast and we do like insane harmonies like that are good, but about stupid stuff. And then we dance together, but badly. And like everything started to be like, oh, this would be so fun. So that's kind of just how that came about. And I wrote it in probably like 2 weekends, and I was like, it's done. Like, I'm ready. I want to put it up. I want to get it going.
How many times have you been able to put that show up?
So it's about to be, so before COVID, it was about to be going into its third run at the Annoyance Theater here in Chicago, on their main stage. So we had one run of it last year, in 2018, and then we had a 2019 run into 2020, and then we'll have that second 2020 run, hopefully, when we get back up and running. So yeah, so we're pretty much running at the Annoyance for now, and so we don't know how long, but as long as people keep coming, so you have to go.
Yeah. Oh, we'll definitely put a little something in the show notes or something about it, or in the post that I make.
Exactly. The documentary is called Spinal Tap.
Spinal Tap. Okay.
There we go.
Wow, that just came out of nowhere into your brain.
I know. I was like, okay, got it.
Found it. Little Stanley in your brain went and drew it out of a file cabinet.
Exactly.
Is there a comedian that inspires you right now?
I love Bill Hader. I like his like Oklahoma roots to not really like knowing what he was doing to being a weird comedian to doing like sad, happy indie movie things. Like, I just love that sort of career trajectory, really. I also I'm a huge fan of Tina Fey. Like, obviously, I love 30 Rock so much. I just think
such a good writer.
Gorgeous. I think Catherine O'Hara is like one of my favorite people at the moment because Schitt's Creek is so funny, and I'm watching it for the second time. I'm really learning to I'm trying to learn from the generation of comics a little before my time right now. I'm trying to learn from the comics that are kind of ending their careers on really high notes, and I'm like, what are they working on? What did they do after SNL? What did they do after all that stuff? I like to kind of look at their careers, like Fred Armisen, these people who continue to make this work that's pushing themselves and challenging their skills and stuff. I'm so into that. So I like all those people I just mentioned. And more.
And more. Probably so many more. You have a background in dance, like we've
Mm.
mentioned. Do you think that that is transferred over to comedy in ways aside from bad dancing in your boy band musical?
Yeah, that's funny. Because that definitely did help with that. But yeah, I think the discipline of dance is just like something I've never experienced anywhere else, like in any office environment, in any sort of job and anything. I've never experienced that level of discipline. I've never been held to like that expectation really. Um, and I continue to hold myself there, I think, because now it is just this like desire I have. Like I want to be on time and I want
Mm-hmm.
to work extra and I want to help with the costuming and I want to, like make the full vision come to life and to do it efficiently and like to care about it. And I think that's something that dancers do so beautifully. Like there's so much detail in everything they do, like every stitch, every position, every line, everything is so taken care of. And I think a lot of times in other performing arts I've been a part of, or in other just any arts I've been a part of, there's like this sort of disorganization, lack of management, like lackadaisical approach, like a little too loosey goosey for me. And so I love that I can bring that strict sort of dancing background with me wherever I go and give myself that structure. I've always really appreciated that, I think.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Have you ever been disappointed with yourself after a set?
Oh yeah, all the time. I
Oh.
think if I don't have people like busting an absolute nut, I'm like not like pleased, which is not fair. And I shouldn't say I'm disappointed. I should just say I'm underwhelmed. I'm like, of course I could have managed that performance. Like, of
Mhm.
course, I'm in this year of doing comedy, this many shows deep, this many hours into this. Of course I did a good show. I don't want a good show. I would love this to be like an amazing show that I'm like,
Mhm.
yes. I think anyone who performs in front of people just knows the difference between like, that was really good and like I was on fire. Like, and so that I
Mm.
was on fire thing, like I'm always trying to get that batting average up. So for me, I'm just like, it's never like my boyfriend's always just like, listening to me after shows, be like, yeah, no, really good. I just,
Yeah.
just the small things, the small things. So.
How do you keep from letting that get to you? How do you keep those voices in your head from making you spiral down into
Right.
doubt?
I try to remind myself that there's something really powerful about the fact that like when you're a comedian or you're an artist of any kind and you decide to like get up on stage in front of people, they have to listen to you. Like for however long you're up there doing your thing, like you are in command of their attention and like they have to listen to you and like that's kind of amazing. So even if you suck, like you just made a whole room of people like just watch you be suck and struggle and it's fine. Like I think there's something amazing and like really vulnerable about that. And like it can't not be a growing experience.
Mm.
Like you can't be all mad about it. So I try to just look at it as like that's hilarious that I just like sucked on stage and made everyone watch me. Like what a real testament to comedy. Like
Mhm.
hilarious. Just the whole situation's just like, wow, that sucks for everyone. So yeah, I just try to not take it too hard. You just can't. Especially if
Yeah.
you plan on performing all the time, it's like, damn, if you take it too hard every time, you are gonna have a real hating sort of energy towards yourself.
Yeah, you're gonna have a
Like,
dark energy as soon
yeah,
as you
like,
step on stage.
yeah,
Everyone's like,
pressure.
ugh.
You can't be funny that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Is there a sense of camaraderie among female comedians, or have you felt like your back might be stabbed at any moment?
no, I definitely feel a sense of camaraderie, especially in the projects I choose to work on. I mean, I can only speak to like the environments that like I allow myself, to like do
Mhm.
projects within. But for me, I've had nothing but like a hugely successful time doing all female projects, one like boy band. I mean, even everyone from our stage manager to like, people helping us choreograph it, like all female. And I think that we like get stuff done and there's a lot of support behind everyone because I don't know, there's just like a similar experience, I think, that like kind of bonds us all together and like just knowing what it takes to be a female and a performer and this, that, and the other. And then I would just say that working with male comics is like anytime they write for a female, there's always this question of like, how'd you do that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't, and I'm open to everyone's work. I would read anything, perform anything pretty much, as long as it's not like hateful or hurtful. But I'm like, it's very hard sometimes to like understand how the perspective of a woman comes out of the mouth of a man. So it's like for me, I love work by women and I love the opportunity to perform that. So, and I don't feel that I think any like women against women sort of conflict is so funny because it's like it's comedy. You couldn't pick a more like specific skill. Like no one's gonna be me as a comedian. And I cannot be like I can't be you as a comedian. You can't be me. We have different like senses of humor. We have different ways of delivering things. Like, so it's this thing where it's like being against me really is not gonna serve you in the end. It's like,
it doesn't make sense.
We're two girls, but like, we're not the same girl. Like, how would we, I don't know. So I always am just like, everyone, if there's any of that, I'm always just like, everyone can chill. It's not,
it's not that big a deal.
Everyone loves me after that response. So. They love me just being like, just calm down.
It's everyone's favorite response.
Yeah.
So now more than ever, laughter is so important. Have you felt pressure to make content to make people laugh, or has it been a welcomed challenge?
Yeah, I definitely feel pressure right now. I think as someone who would not describe themselves as like an internet comedian, I really feel like pressure to make something good, pressure to make a lot of things, pressure to make something because technically nothing's going on. Like there are a lot of thoughts of like, fear of missing out on the time that everyone's doing it. Like, but I think there's one thing that I continue to come back to, which is like everyone serves their function. Like I don't like to be tweeting and on Instagram and like stuff like that as much as someone else, but I don't have to. Like I can be making music during this time with a friend and like doing some more like avant-garde project or like painting or, just like pushing different envelopes that are like going to help me artistically, but not, something that I'm trying to hang my career on. I really try not to function in a way that's like this one viral video could just it's just a dangerous sort of thing. But I also try not to be the person who's like, one video won't make a career. I try to live somewhere in the midst of like, if you want to do it, do it. If you don't want to do it, try to find something you do want to do. So that's where I'm living right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a good place to live, because when you put too high of stakes on yourself, I feel like especially in comedy, when you're like, this has to be so funny.
Yeah,
it's
or
not
else
gonna be funny.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have the support of your friends and family?
Yeah, I definitely do. I'm really lucky in that my parents are pretty much like, oh, our daughter, she can do anything. Yeah, as lame as that is, it is as lame as that sounds, it is so true. Like they met performing, like they're really like they're like hippies turned business people, that kind of thing. So they definitely have mad love for the performing community and have always loved the way it's instilled a lot of like confidence in me. So I think, and they see me hustle. I think it would be different if I was like, I want to tell jokes, and I moved somewhere and then like, took an improv class and was like, it's okay. But I think they see me hustling and they're like, dude, she must really like this. Like, so any opportunity they can find to come up here, like, well, we already saw the tickets were online, so we already bought the flight. So they are very invested. So it's nice knowing that they like, I can say like, I just, put out a video where I'm like, taking a shit on the floor and they're like, we're so proud of you. Like, we love it. so that's what's great. And then my friends too are always like, when are your shows? Like, you're so funny. And I think a lot of the reason they think it's funny is because not because I'm not funny. I would like to think it's funny. But I would also like to think that watching me, like, I can't imagine someone I know doing a comedy show and being like, yo, you want to come to this? That wasn't someone I already knew from comedy, So I think there's an element of like they get a lot of chuckles out of coming to see me because they poke fun at me outside of the context of the show. So anyway, yeah, I have great support.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So you've always got people on your team in the audience, it sounds like.
Yeah, and I try to make it not like too obvious. I'm like, okay, yes, there are 20 people in my family in Ohio. You can't all come at the same time, or else it's gonna be like, it's gonna make me look like the only people coming to my shows are just my family from so it's like we have to get strategic about like letting their support shine through.
Oh, I love that. That's so funny. What advice do you have for anyone wanting to get into comedy?
I would just say, just like make sure that you are also laughing throughout the process of trying to become a comedian. Like it gets very, the stakes ramp up really quickly. It goes from like, I'm just, doing an improv jam with random people I met on a Tuesday to like, I'm doing a tight 5 minutes to try to get this audition, to try to get this TV show, to try to like change my life. It gets like just really quickly out of control, sort of. And I think like just remembering that you've chosen like one of the most fun things you could do with your life. And so like not letting that element like slip away, like really capitalizing on the fact that it is funny and like you spend the whole day making funny ideas. So like have a good time with that. And if you're not, I think like that's when you need to like take a break, stop, do something else, paint the picture, do the stretching, like leave the joke writing for a minute so that you're not like ruining it for yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have advice for people who maybe write out a joke and then just pick it apart before they've even allowed it to be a joke?
Yeah. Then don't edit while you write.
Don't edit while
you write, where it's like, if you're editing, you're obviously second guessing yourself. If you're second guessing yourself, how are you writing with confidence? If you're not writing with confidence, how is it funny? It's that whole like chain of events. So it's like, and once you make that first edit, like it's done. It's like you've broken the seal. It's like now you're like stopping every time you don't like the way that you crossed your T. You're like, oh God. So I think just like as soon as you think you have an idea, like don't hesitate, like just pen to paper and like get out as much stuff until you're like, okay, I literally don't have another thought on this. And then pick it apart, then reorganize it, burn it, whatever. So that you at least give yourself a fighting chance of like getting the full idea out. And like you're not going to like sequence the joke probably correctly the first time. I think like seeing all your thoughts out on paper and then being able to rearrange and like put the punches where they need to go and put the beats where they need to go and tie it up at the end. And then you start like really, really getting smooth with your transitions and all your jokes and all that stuff. And that's what makes it that next level of fun. Like I not only wrote this, but now I like put it together in a way that's like got a flow and all this stuff.
Yeah. So before we get to our last two questions, is there anything else you would like to add? Beautiful thoughts, questions, where we can find any of your material, if you have like a YouTube channel or anything like that, if you've published anything?
Yeah. So you can go to ashleyleisten.com. It's Ashley, Ashley, and Leisten, Leisten.com. And all my comedy stuff is up there. Upcoming shows I put there, video content, podcasts, and like show recordings, things like that. So you can check it out there. And then I would just say keep looking for stuff that makes you happy during this time. And I would also encourage people to just support local artists of any kind. If you have the cash to do so, or the heart to do so, or the time to do so, because these people are really trying to make beautiful stuff for the world, and they can't if they can't pay for their rent. So, so please, we need people that do beautiful things for the world, not just make business. Yeah.
So I ask everyone that comes through the podcast the same last two questions.
Okay.
First one, what is your second favorite color?
Blue.
Blue? What kind of blue? Light blue? Bright blue?
I would say like a like is it eggshell blue? Is that what it's called? Or like the really pale, like pastel-y sky blue kind of, but like it's more like muted.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Tiffany blue, but not so bright. Yeah, but like kind of in that area.
Why do you like that color?
It's sweet. It's just gentle, not abrasive. You can put it in any room. I'm doing decorating right now in my new apartment, so I'm like really into like French grays and blues and like oh. I know.
Fancy.
I know so much about interior design.
And lastly, what in your opinion is the best thing about being a woman?
Hmm.
It can be more than one thing if you've got a
Right.
list.
I'm like, wow, everything. The best thing about being a woman, women are the most versatile creatures on the planet. Like, we can pull off anything, look like anything, do anything, and no one's allowed to question us. And so I love that. Just being so versatile. I feel like this cool, like, chameleon, like, superhuman person who, like, I can cut my hair however I want. I can wear any pants I want. I can wear any, like, anything is possible when I walk out my door because I'm a lady. That's how I feel.
Oh
Thoughts?
man.
Agree with that?
I absolutely agree with
Yeah,
that.
girl. Yes, queen.
Thank you so much for joining us today,
Yes.
Ashley.
Thanks for having me, Heather.
Of course, you're such a bright spirit, and I can't wait to hear more from you and your comedy and your career. I know you've got a lot of great things ahead of you. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in again today. Don't forget to rate and review the show. You can send us an email at womenofherstorypodcast@gmail.com. You can follow us on Instagram at Women of Her Story Podcast. And until next week, be safe, stay healthy, and show the world what you're made of.